Daughters of Reddit, what is something you wish your father knew about girls when you were growing up? Guess I kind of consider myself a daddy's girl, so here are all the things I'd probably tell him now. All those times you just accepted things that were girly without ever attracting any kind of attention to it really went a long way towards helping me build a healthy perception of guys. You never expressed any kind of disdain or machismo when I asked for your help entangling my Barbie's hair or prodding you with magic fairy wands. You never hesitated to teach me practical skills, and you never attributed gender to them. It was always, come over here and let me show you how to snake the drain, because you're going to need to do this. By the way, Dad, I snaked my first drain all on my own last month. I'm so glad you taught me. Thank you for bailing me out when I was in a pinch, no questions asked. No guilting, no attempts at squeezing out information. I felt like I could come to you with any dilemma. This took a load of my shoulders because Mom is so reactive and freak out first, maybe resolve later. You respect me, which makes me respect you even more. When I call you out on BS, you actually repent and reflect. You don't deflect back on me and pull the "I'm the parent and know better than you" spiel. You actually took the time to sit and watch my cartoons or attempt to understand my video games or other hobbies. Mom always turned up her nose. You didn't. Do you know how awesome it is to watch your dad actually laugh at the cartoon your mother just dismissed as dumb minutes before? So gratifying. All those times you went shopping for groceries and picked up ladies' sanitary supplies without any hesitation, even if you did affectionately rename the long super maxi pads, low salt maxis. Thank you for all those secret times you let me pick something out of the vending machine to eat when we were on trips together. You knew Mom would never allow it. You take great pride in embarrassing me, but you know exactly where to draw the line so it's endearingly goofy, not genuinely embarrassing. You know your audience and play to it. I feel no shame when my friends, or now fiancé, are around you. It's okay if your hands were too calloused to properly tie my ballet skirt before classes. I could tie it myself. But I didn't tell you at the time because I knew it made you happy to help me. So don't be embarrassed because the fabric kept snagging on your calluses. I wish you took your dental hygiene more seriously. I think your lax attitude and seeing you lose a lot of your teeth didn't set the best example for my sister while we were growing up. That it is best to have a personal bond with your father, a hobby or activity that's the two of you no matter how small, and not him just be there when the whole family is together. When our outdoor cats would get ticks, I quickly alerted my father and we removed them. For him a chore and for me the one thing that was us doing something together. Don't be scared of having your picture taken. If your daughter wants to take pictures of you, or especially with you, let them. My dad died when I was 13 years old and then I realized that all of his hiding from the camera meant I was left with only a handful of photos and he wasn't in any of our home videos. You don't realize how important they can be until you aren't able to make new ones. I have the most wonderful father in the world. This post isn't going to be things I wish he knew, but more things he did that were awesome when I was growing up, since I'm seeing a lot of daddies with little girls commenting that they're reading this post. My dad never hesitated to do girly things with me. He was the one who took me school shopping. We would often hit Starbucks and then pick up chocolate-covered strawberries afterwards. He would fix my hair for school and paint my nails for me. I remember wanting a head full of tiny braids. This was the 90s, and he spent hours of his Saturday afternoon braiding. We played with Barbies and he actually came up with storylines for them and put effort into it. On the other hand, he also never kept me from doing tomboy things. I raised baby calves, helped him wash cars, and worked on the lawnmower. When I was little we had daddy-daughter dates where we would go to Chuck E. Cheese or mini-golfing. When I was in middle school and high school we would go to the pool together and lay out and talk. A few years ago we got tickets to see Miley Cyrus Bangers tour and got drunk together and had the best time. He was always patient with anything regarding my self-esteem. He helped me lose weight when I was in middle school and waited for hours for me to get ready before we went somewhere, and never, ever commented on anything other than to compliment me. The biggest thing I think that he did, and still does, is to encourage my independence. He helped me through school and constantly reminds me that I am a strong woman and that I don't ever have to get married if I don't want to. My mother used to put a lot of pressure on me to settle down. He is my friend along with being my dad. I'm forever thankful for him. Our standards of how we expect to be treated by men come from how you treat our mothers. Show her kindness, we will expect kindness. Treat her like shit and we assume being treated like shit is normal. Don't just assume your daughter won't be interested in your activities because they aren't stereotypically girly or because once as a small child, she didn't want to do it. Not wanting, say, go hiking or fishing when I was 5 years old doesn't mean I never ever want to do it. Keep trying to get your kids involved in your life and don't just give up. You're teaching them not to share things about themselves and losing the chance to bond over something you love. I'm not sure about girls in general. To me, I'd rather have had a dad who was there than a dad who was successful and a workaholic. When your dad is gone, you remember the silly little things, the bedtime stories he told you, playing with you on the beach, having ice cream together. Be a father who is present in your daughter's life. Play with her when she's small. Tell her stories. When she's older, listen to her. Take an interest in her interests even if they sound silly. Take an interest in her life in general. That's all anyone can ask. That it's great you're extending the offer to spend time together, but when you invite your kid to the garage to help with something, actually have them help with something. For context, my dad would be working on his boat engine or something, and he'd say come help me with this, and then I'd sit on a bucket for 20 minutes watching him in silence, and finally wander off out of boredom. Looking back, it's great he wanted to spend time with me and I appreciate that, but being present and being involved are two different things. I'm a dad who grew up with 3 brothers. All of my brothers had a boy first. I had a girl first and was terrified of how I was going to raise a little girl. She's 14 now and is awesome to be around. I have been a stay-at-home dad since she was 6 months old and we have a tight relationship. My son is 18 months younger and I have learned that the big things aren't that different. I think it's extremely important to take an interest in what they love. Their interest may not align with yours entirely, but showing an interest in their hobbies is the best way to connect with them as they get older. Don't try to pick their hobbies or interest for them either. Kids are their own people. If you are looking forward to tea parties but your daughter prefers baseball, get out there in the yard and toss the ball around. If you are looking forward to bonding over football but your daughter wants to play princesses, then get ready to dress up. Just treat your child as an individual. Raise the child you have, not the child you want. This is more general to parents but I think it applies a lot to girls and fathers. Her feelings are real and valid. The problem she's sobbing about, whether it's a boy or a fight with a friend or whatever, may seem trivial or silly to you but those feelings are so important to her right now. In 10 years you can tease her about Jimmy from science class who she thought liked her but ended up asking her friend Alice to the dance. Now is not the time. Don't belittle her about it. Listen to her, ask her questions, learn about her life. It may seem boring to you but my dad listened to me, he remembered my friends' names and would ask me about them. He asked me seriously about what I wanted from the future. And you know what, I'm 25 now and I still confide in my father. He calls me just to chat and I tell him about my feelings and I ask him about his. It only takes one mean joke to put that wall up and it is hella hard to take down. How to put hair in ponytails, brush long hair in general. Just thinking about it 20 years later makes my scalp hurt. Also, to include the daughter in stereotypically male housework. I can cook and load a dishwasher like my life depends on it, but I can't do any sort of maintenance like putting up a picture frame or unclogging a sink. When your daughter is going through puberty and starts getting her period, don't write off the things she's going through. There's all sorts of new hormones swirling around in there, and they're gonna affect her mood. She's getting periods, they're probably gonna hurt. Being in pain makes you grumpy, but don't write off every instance of anger or bad temper as being because you're on your period. Maybe her mom doesn't get bad ones, maybe you've never thought about it because your wife is a grown woman who has learned to deal with her periods and the assorted mood swings and pains and moved on, your daughter hasn't yet. Be a little more thoughtful, help teach her ways to manage what she's feeling. If she's in a lot of pain, and it doesn't change after a while, take her to a doctor. Maybe nothing's wrong and she got shit luck, but she could have endometriosis or cystic ovaries. Stick up for her at the doctor. Lots of women have trouble finding doctors who will listen to them about their pain, and it's very hard to advocate for yourself when you're only 14 and throwing up from pain. Unwanted sexual attention from grown men doesn't always come from strangers. It comes from family, friends, too. Pay attention to your friends' behaviors and comments around your kids. My dad cut off a longtime friend after catching him leering at me in a bathing suit at a pool party when I was only 12. Treating every boy interested in your daughter as your enemy does both of you a disservice. My dad was very overprotective. Any time a boy had a crush on me, he would be immediately added to my dad's shit list. Even if he was perfectly kind and respectful. After a certain point, I just stopped listening to my dad's complaints. In my eyes, he had lost the right to give input about my relationships. Unfortunately, when I was 17 I became entangled in an abusive relationship. My dad hated the guy. But since he also hated every one of my previous suitors, I didn't interpret his concerns as legitimate. On top of that, since he was so busy trying to prevent me from having relationships, he never talked to me about what a healthy relationship looks like.